If you look at the history of Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement of the 50s and 60s, you see a big difference here about how social justice and civil rights in particular are interpreted. In this view of equality, you gain your individual rights not by what you share with all of humanity, which is the liberal civil rights view. Blacks were considered to be equal to all human beings. They weren't considered to be better or worse. They were considered to be equal. And it wasn't because they were black, but because they were humans. That's why they had human rights. That was the old way of looking at civil rights. And all the men, regardless of skin color, as understood in the original civil rights, this is the way Martin Luther King looked at it. But in the new postmodern left, you have your rights by virtue of your membership, of course, in one of these groups. If you belong to a persecuted minority, you, as an individual, share in the persecution of the whole group. It doesn't matter whether you have been individually persecuted or not. What matters is the historic and social position of your race and your gender. If you are on the wrong side of that divide historically, you are by definition the aggressor, while the other side is a victim. Now, in America, civil rights, particularly under King and others, had always been grounded in the moral behavior of the individual. Martin Luther King Jr. hated group stereotyping. He considered group stereotyping to be the essence of racism against African Americans. That's why he hated it. That's why he talked not about the color of an individual's skin, but about the content of one's character. He wanted African Americans to be judged on the content of their characters, not their race. Now it's completely upside down. Somebody who is historically determined to be a persecuted minority can go out and misbehave in all kinds of ways, can attack people or go in and steal something from a store. But if in a certain narrative in the news, if they happen to be considered the victim of, here in this grand historical narrative, of persecution and oppression, then their individual behavior does not matter the slightest. That is not something Martin Luther King would have approved of.